Hello, friends. Welcome to Platini International and to the promised movie about the Matrix. I'm gonna talk about philosophy and the Matrix. How it is. I think they themselves, the creators, admitted that the idea is sort of a metaphor for Plato's cave allegory. Allegory, I'm not sure. But you have Plato's cave, and then the red pill and the blue pill. They represent the choices that the man in the Plato's cave allegory has to take. So we have to go layer by layer. Let me first explain to you the Plato's cave in the proper way. Maybe you haven't been explained well. I'm sure you know the idea, but let's get into line. It doesn't really matter the mechanics, the precise mechanics of the cave, but you have a cave where, well, maybe part of it is important, but it doesn't matter now. You have a cave, and then light gets into the cave. You have a bunch of people, they are chained inside the cave with their faces locked to a direction. So all they see is what's being projected from outside, because you have like they also have a firelight, that's what it's called. So you have a fire, and then because of the fire they keep seeing shadows of stuff. That's all they see their whole life. They're facing a wall in a cave, and all they see are the shadows of the stuff that passes, that are shown according to the fire that they have inside the cave, and the light outside sometimes, if it's daylight and the light is strong. But I think mostly it wasn't. No, I think the sun doesn't even have a role inside the cave. It's all the fire. All the shadows come from the fire. So it's not even real light. But maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong at this point. Don't quote me on this. So the point is, this is a metaphor for us. What is the person? What is the guy in a matrix? What is the guy in a cave? Well, it's us. We have our senses, but our senses tell us nothing about what's real. We know, like, we have eyes, and we see according to those eyes. We see according to how those eyes are. They are made to receive information in a certain way. If our eyes were made in a different way, we would receive information in a different way. Everything would look completely different if we had the eyes of like a praying man, not a praying mantis. What's it called? There's sort of a there's a very strong sea animal that has like a punch that comes from, I forgot, boy stuff. There's sort of a very colored creature from the bottom of the sea that has a little punch that comes from within its chest, and the power of the punch is like a 22 Glock. Like, it literally breaks glasses. They need bulletproof glasses to keep the fish in. Fish, it's not a fish, it's like a fighter, whatever. Don't remember the name now. Something like, looks like a Pokemon. uh Anyway, where was I? So the point is, the normal person, me, you, everyone, what we see with our eye. Oh, I mentioned the creature because we see in like 16. We see like 16 beats of light or something, bytes, whatever. There's a measure. There are some animals that see worse than us. There are some animals that see further than us. There are some animals like us who see specifically things in this way, and we have daltonic people. And but this animal, he sees like he has like a whole different scale of colors that he sees. Like, his world is absolutely unimaginable for us, because he has like, I don't know, if we have like we have like 16 colors, and he has like 48 or something. The amount of colors that he can see in the world is like 100 times more than us. The combinations of colors, the mixes, and everything is absurd. So our senses, they control what we can perceive, and because of this, we are almost as if we were chained to a cave. Our senses, our the chains is our senses. I don't think he says that, but it's almost like if it is that, like it is that. Blah blah blah. So how does this relates to the Matrix? You have the red pill and the blue pill. The red pill is you go outside, you face the real world. The blue pill is you sit there inside and you just keep looking at the pretty shadows. I mean, you're perfectly fine with the shadows, whatever. Like, what if outside is worse than here? How can you tell, you idiot? Why do you want to go outside? Maybe it sucks. Let's just stay here. And I think in the end of the allegory, they kill the guy who wants to go outside. They want to keep inside the cave, believing they what they always believed, which is the shadows are real life. So the shadows is like television. People really, really want to believe that television is real, that there is a culture war, and they will kill for it because they really want to prove that it's true, that what they see, the shadows that they see. Because television is the shadow of a shadow, but the real world is also the real world that what we see as a real world, what we perceive with our senses, with the real world as a real world, is already false, is already a matrix. That's the relation, you see. In the matrix, people are chained, are connected by a cable to a matrix because computers control the world and so on. And then what everyone sees is false. But the point is that is just a way of exacerbating what already happens, which is our senses force us to perceive reality according to them. We are already living inside the matrix. Well, we are already forced to only perceive the matrix and to never see the real world, even inside the matrix. And in the movie it's really easy. You just have to go outside the cave. In Plato's allegory, also you just go outside the cave. But in real life, there's no real clear way of how you get outside. You have to keep trying to get there, and you never really get there. You're always just getting closer. There's the whole process, dialectics, and so on. So let me see if I forgot a point. Oh, yes, I forgot a really important point. Like two really important points because I'm tired. The first one is the blue pill is not an idiot. The blue pill guy. The blue pill guy, he's the smart one. He's the one who's like, hey, you know, we're really okay here. We don't need you finding new stuff that maybe will get us all killed or just or something else, you're bringing problems to us with your new stuff. The blue pill is the smart one because he's the one who's eating the nice steak like Cypher, and then there's this crazy guy telling him, no, the steak is false, you shouldn't be happy and take pleasure in the steak. So in a way, the blue pill is the smart guy. Also, something that is important, the blue pill is a decision. It's a voluntary decision to not go around finding the truths and seeing everything. This is something that is very clear to me with political things. I've, I question a lot, but I'm also very polite. So I've heard from people more than once, people who know that I am honest, faithful, loyal, and that they could admit this to me and I would respect it and not make fun of them or anything or call them out. They were really like Plato. They didn't call me Plato, but like Plato. You, I'm already. I have difficulty making friends. I need to speak I need to speak well and in a certain way to do well with my job, or I'm gonna get fired. I really don't want you discuss. I really don't want to get into this discussion. So the idea is that Socrates was killed by the polis because he was corrupting the young. And that is what philosophy does. It corrupts people in this sense. You have the normal person immersed in normal lies, and that brings them less problems than the guy who tries to go outside the matrix and find stuff out. And then he breaks. But the point, I think, well, at least from my perspective, the guy who can really break the chains and go outside is the guy who is good enough to be accepted inside, even though he went outside. So he has to play the game really well. Has to be a good player. Most players would just get themselves killed doing this. It's really easy to get yourself destroyed by this process of illuminating others. But I think it really is important to get this point across that the blue pill guy is the smart guy that decides not only the lie, he decides the effective. That is what we don't want to see. Most people want to make fun of all blue pills. No, the blue pills are. That's why so many people take the blue pill, thinking they're taking the red. They think the red pill is gonna be what's useful to you, what's gonna prevent you from getting, for instance, when you use the metaphor for women, which became really. It was a metaphor for communist revolution. Now it's common as a metaphor for women. You get red pilled, and now you know that the bourgeoisie controls things, and you want a revolution. Or you get red pilled, and now you know women only care about money and looks, and they don't love you. Women don't love men; they just love stuff, or whatever. And it's gnostic. It's just another name for gnosticism, I guess. But I don't know. That's another story, I guess. But it's really, there are relationships, of course, between this. And so one thing that I didn't mention yet. Oh yeah, dialectics of enlightenment, from Adorno and Horkheimer, late Frankfurt School. People know Frankfurt School as revolutionaries, crazy people. They know. You have to understand something. They have phases. There are, I think, 3 phases of the Frankfurt School, and I think they really were revolutionaries in the beginning, and then in the end, there will be some people who will claim they were always revolutionaries. They just changed their ways. Maybe for some people that is true, and maybe for some people that is not. I don't know. I never researched this enough. All I know is I read the book from Adorno and Horkheimer called Dialectics of Enlightenment. It really looks like a very destructive critique to progressivism. Like completely absolute, the best critique of constructive not constructivism, but progressivism that I ever saw. It's an amazing book. I recommend it to everybody. Really like it. And in there, they have also red pill, blue pill metaphor. They continue the metaphor in a way, but they don't do it. I'm gonna do it with their work. They talk about it in terms of mythology and philosophy. They're saying like how scientific and philosophical spirit, the spirit of understanding things. Why do we have it? And why do we always have it? It's not something that is just they call it Aufklärung, which is enlightenment, which is the name of the era. Is the name of the era of Aufklärung era or Illuminism, you know, uh, the lights. Sometimes it is called, like, it's the times of the French Revolution, of the American Revolution. So those times, they are like a peak of something that always exists, and he takes Ulysses' Odyssey to show how Ulysses is always like rationalizing mythology. He's always like he doesn't respect the sacredness, but he rationalizes it. He secularizes it. He tries to lie to the gods. I mean, how can this make any sense? This is this is something that, well, I'm not going to get into this point because Plato really criticizes Greek gods and says they should not be taught. That's in the Republic, he really discusses like banning completely Homer and all the canon because gods are absolute degenerates and they can't be role models. We need better role models. So Christianity, this is something. This is why what uh, Nietzsche said about uh, Platonism, Christianism saying Platonism for plebs, it's not completely false in a way that Christianism is really got part of the legacy of Platonism. Of course, not like half of it at least, but a part of it. And part of seeing you can't have gods being complete absolute degenerates is something they got from from Plato. Uh, so you have this situation where we want to clarify things, study things, understand things, because it is going to make our life easier and better. We want to improve our lives so we become better at stuff, we become better at understanding them, making tools to control them. The control is the key here. We want to control things, and then we create and we understand and we study and blah, blah, blah. But then eventually we get to a point where we we get to the wall. Most things have like this wall. For instance, if you want to study like space stuff, then wait a second, I was just watching my cat. You want to study like space things, and then it costs like 1 billion for you to study it, and then there's a law in the government being passed or not passed that will give you the 1 billion you need, and then you have to make the choice. Will I lie? Imagine that you have that situation, and then you are the judge, and because you were a scientist, you're respected, and then they have like a test, but in the test you see that it is negative, not positive. But you could just lie. You could say no, it's positive, and then you get the 1 billion and you get funding and you do your science. So for science, you will lie instead of doing science. Lying is the opposite of doing science in a way. So it's I didn't explain it in the best way. The best way of explaining it. I like feminism to explaining it, but it makes some people sort of uncomfortable. But I don't know. I think it's okay. Uh, you have today many women saying that because of feminism, like they need feminism for men to treat them with respect and dignity and all of that. But for some people, like Christianity guaranteed that. So, from the perspective of the communist feminist red pill, which is they know the truth, and the blue pill married people are idiots. But both have their ways of solving the same problems. I don't think the blue pill is. I think the blue pill is very underestimated. The red pill, I think, it is only for when it's gonna work. If you take the red pill and you fail, you have a complete disaster in your hands. You should have just taken the blue pill and stayed cool, stayed quiet. Because you take the red pill, you don't solve anything, you get misery and failure, and for what? For nothing. So the blue pill is a risk decision. Is the guy who decides I'm gonna play safe here. I'm gonna do what's written, and it's gonna work and it's fine. And that is not a stupid decision. The guy who follows tradition, the guy who follows This is why I'm comparing to Aufklärung. The guy who follows tradition, what is normal, what is like, this is the blue pill guy, and this is not stupid. This is known to be a smart way of living. And red pill, like trying to be the red pill is the crazy guy, is the guy who is like apocalyptic in the subway. That's the red pill guy. So in a way, the blue pill guy is the normal guy, and he is the smart guy because he knows he's just a human. He's not gonna discover stuff and change the world. He's just gonna get into trouble, lose friends, lose his job, speak in a weird way. There's one of my favorite dialogues of Plato, Gorgias, Callicles, which is like the best character there. He destroys Plato in a part where he's like, the philosopher is just like a child who wanders around getting amazed at everything, because we see the harmony, the secret harmony everywhere. And it's true. The philosopher is the guy who gets Talmud Zayin. I don't know the word in English. It's the word, he's always like being surprised. It's surprise. I don't know. It's surprise. It's not surprise, but it's almost surprise. It's the feeling that you get when you find out that there is a harmony in something that you didn't see before, and the whole world is full of this. So this is the allegory of the cave explained more into detail, I guess, with the blue pill and the red pill. So imagine that mythology is the blue pill. It explains the world with myths which are not true, but they work. And then some smart people decide, let's red pill everything, which is Illuminism, Aufklärung. And then this is Adorno and Horkheimer's story. They go around, they red pill everybody. They're like, yes, yes, science, science, science. And then suddenly they're like, let's kill all the chosen people. How does this happen? This is their explanation. You get rationality, and if you rationalize it enough, the guys who are in command rationalizing, at some point they're gonna say, hey, oh, there's a lot of rich people here, and they're from the same, like, if you could just get one reason to take all their money, it would be very beneficial, wouldn't it? Even if it's not true. And then they can they have the conflict of interest there. They are, like, what's more important to them? Like, and you won't even say the truth. It's not the lie, because it's not a lie. They know the truth. They're not lying to themselves. They're just doing what has to be done to win. They're still with the truth. And even if they lie to someone else, they're not lying to themselves. They know the truth. As long as you don't confuse the truth yourself, you're still in the red pill territory. But but blue pill mythology is Adorno and Horkheimer. They refer to the, how shall I call it? I don't want to alarm the algorithm against me. The German people, the German evil guys. They had their own mythology. They created a mythology because they got to a point of they were rationalizators. They come from the rationalizators, but they get to a point where they discover a lie that is more efficient to control the world and the nation than the very truth that was supposed to be useful precisely because it is a tool of control of the world. So I guess that explains everything. Any questions, any doubts, leave a comment, leave a like. As always, thank you. And if you stayed and watched the whole video, especially, thank you very much. You could also write something like a code if you saw everything. Like, let me see, what can I call? I don't even know the name of this. Cap. It's a cap, isn't it? Like what you put in a bottle of water. So bottle of water cap is what you will write if you manage to survive this whole video and watch it until the end. I think maybe nobody will. It's possible. We'll see later. And see you next week. I'm gonna post this right now because last video was like a false video of me just defending myself from the idiots. Maybe I'm not gonna post now. I'm gonna post today, tomorrow, or something closer, a lot closer to 1 week.